Number 10, Marvel's What If? The Marvel Cinematic Universe is ripe with interesting stories and characters, and once the multiverse was introduced, this world of superheroes became a whole lot more malleable. Enter Marvel's What If, an animated anthology that gives us alternate takes on several major MCU events explored through the lens of competing timelines and realities. For example, the very first episode presents a tale where Agent Peggy Carter becomes the first Avenger instead of Steve Rogers. We also explore timelines where a zombie apocalypse ravages the Earth, Doctor Strange turns evil, and much, much more. These various changes are observed and narrated by the Watcher, a mysterious figure that's just as intriguing as the plot lines at hand. With a total of 26 episodes across 3 seasons, Marvel's What If is a perfect binge for Marvel fans that have grown tired of the same feature film formula, as this show is often darker, weirder, and more mind-bending than the stories that inspired it. A brisk and exciting series that rarely overstays its welcome, Marvel's What If is easily one of the most creative pieces of Marvel entertainment around, so check it out on Disney Plus if you're in the mood for a subversion of expectations starring your favorite MCU heroes. Number 9. Inside Number 9. You know, for all intents and purposes, it just kind of felt appropriate to put this show on this spot, but out of all the anthology shows on this list, Inside Number 9 is probably the most underrated. Honestly, it really doesn't get the love that it deserves. Ripe with English humor and some seriously creative plots, this show kicked off in 2014 and it ran for an appropriate 9 seasons with over 50 episodes to enjoy. Often contained to one location, each episode usually stars one or both of the show's creators, Steve Pemberton and Reese Shearsmith, with a helping of other celebrities and guest stars to fill out the cast list. What makes Inside Number 9 so good, though, is its utter lack of thematic cohesion. Instead of sticking to one genre or vibe, the only thing that ties the many episodes of the show together is the inclusion of that number 9 in some shape or form. With this, the show is granted wholesale freedom to be as wild and weird as it pleases, resulting in some truly unforgettable episodes. Whether it's the humorous first episode, which sees a group of friends packing into a wardrobe during a game of hide and seek, or the dramatically poignant Season 2 episode, 12 Days of Christine, Inside Number 9 always finds a way to surprise. One of the best examples of the show's ingenuity comes from the 2018 Halloween special titled Deadline, which is broadcast live, and though the show started off normally and smoothly, it was quickly overrun by tons of technical issues, with the crew attempting to salvage the live performance by airing reruns and other content, but the problems simply did not let up. I don't want to give too much away, but this episode was disturbing, violent, and perfectly planned, acting as an excellent showcase for the creativity within the format of live television. If you want to check out Inside Number 9, and I very much recommend that you do, you can watch it on the BritBox streaming service or rent various seasons and episodes on services like Amazon Video or Apple TV. Number 8. Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt might be a bit of an oldie, but trust me, it's still damn good. This anthology debuted in 1989 and it ran for 7 years, giving us over 90 episodes of bloody horror fun. Hosted by the iconic Crypt Keeper, a cackling mascot who has left a legacy of its own, this anthology skirted the rules of cable by being aired on HBO and as such was much more graphic and adult-oriented than any of its peers. Based on the oft-forgotten EC comics, Tales from the Crypt had a surplus of crazy ideas to adapt, along with several original plots that are just as fun to watch today as they were in the 1990s. Highlights of this series include And All Through the House, a quirky Killer Christmas episode, Yellow, a World War I tale directed by Robert Zemeckis, What's Cookin', all about a restaurant with a particularly tasty steak recipe, and countless others. Accompanying the high levels of blood and nudity was a who's who of rotating guest stars, including the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Hanks, Brad Pitt, Patricia Arquette, and so many more. Unfortunately, due to complications with the licensing, it's a true headache to try and stream Tales from the Crypt online, but if you want to watch it, you can always try and pick up the physical DVDs. Number 7. The Outer Limits. There are 2 versions of The Outer Limits, the 1963 classic and the 1995 revival, and although the 90s version is good enough in its own right, we're talking about the 63 version here. At a time when the sci-fi genre was still finding its footing on TV, The Outer Limits came in swinging, presenting deep explorations of our place in the universe. Leaning into hard science fiction, the self-contained episodes dabbled with all things alien, a dash of cosmic horror, and ahead-of-its-time social commentary on technology. That said, it really excelled with its Monster of the Week formula. Specifically in the first season, most episodes of The Outer Limits feature some sort of gross-out alien creature, also known as the Bear, anchoring the anxiety of each episode in a tangible way. Whether googly-eyed extraterrestrials or truly terrifying examples of practical makeup and costuming, The bears of the Outer Limits are a vibe of their own, and waiting for their reveal is kind of half of the fun. Although it only ran for 2 seasons in its original form, The Outer Limits was clearly influential in the anthology space, and it helped push science fiction further with its boundary-pushing storytelling. If you're in the mood for some good old black and white TV, you can find The Outer Limits on some of those smaller free streaming services, or you can rent the series through Amazon and the like. Number 6. Love, Death, and Robots. If you want to see some extremely impressive animation, enthralling stories of sci-fi, or you just want a quick burst of unique TV, look no further than Love, Death, and Robots. This show first landed on Netflix in 2019, and since then, there have been 4 volumes of the show to enjoy. As the title implies, each episode usually contains either love, death, or robots, but don't consider that a hard restriction. Sometimes an episode is about psychedelic fish ghosts in the desert, or a sentient bit of yogurt that wants to take over the world. Honestly, you never know. Like other great sci-fi anthologies, Love, Death, and Robots presents thought-provoking stories that are meant to make you ponder, but it's the animation that makes it so fun to watch. In total, 23 different animation studios had a hand in the creation of the show's 4 volumes, giving each episode a distinct look. Some are hyper-realistic, which makes the violence all that more disturbing, while others are highly stylized, like a Saturday morning cartoon cranked up to the next level. With this focus on quality animation comes razor-sharp runtimes, where no episode overstays its welcome, but instead often leaves you wanting for more. Most episodes are roughly 15 minutes or so, making this a perfectly bingeable anthology that will get your brain working, or at the very least, will be a feast for the eyes. Number 5. Fargo. Let's pull away from the sci-fi for a second to talk about Fargo, one of the most unique anthologies on our list. Created by Noah Hawley, this show is set in the same universe as the 1996 movie by the Coen brothers, but features 5 self-contained seasons set in the American Midwest. With its blockbuster cast, including that of Billy Bob Thornton, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, and Ewan McGregor, just to name a few, along with gripping cinematography, this show feels big budget enough to be aired on the silver screen. But what I love the most about Fargo is just how weird it is. Fargo is a show for viewers who love intricate stories of crime with expertly written characters, where the moral conundrums are not so black and white. Across its 5 seasons, the show jumps through time, painting a picture of blue-collar crime in the 1950s, 1970s, 2000s, and beyond. With enough stylistic quirks to keep you guessing and a through line of dark comedy, Fargo forges an identity of its own. It's slightly unhinged in that way, making it a one-of-a-kind show about crime where every season offers something distinctly different, but is still contained to this undeniably off-kilter world. With its character-driven narrative, beautiful camera work, and plenty of plainly odd moments, Fargo is one anthology that you should definitely check out, and thankfully, you should be able to find all 5 seasons on Hulu. Number 4. American Horror Story. When American Horror Story dropped in 2011, it revitalized the anthology format in a major way, and we're not exaggerating in the slightest. Without the success of this deeply unnerving horror series, many modern anthologies would have never gotten the green light. Created by Ryan Murphy, this series is still on the air with a 13th season currently in production. Each season gives us a different taste of horror, with an all-new cast of characters and a driving plot, and willing to push the boundaries with its controversial storytelling. It all started with Season 1, aka Murder House, which told the story of the Harmon family, who moved to a creepy house in Los Angeles and soon discover that the City of Angels holds far more terror than they ever imagined. Constantly evoking supernatural themes along with its grisly violence and earned scares, American Horror Story reinvented itself multiple times over the years. Jumping from Season 1, the show shifted to an asylum for the criminally insane in Season 2, a coven of witches in Season 3, a carnival freak show in Season 4, and so on and so forth. From vampires to blood-crazed cults and everything in between, American Horror Story gives us self-contained tales that are actually scary and not just in the ghouls and ghosts sort of way. While the quality of later seasons vary, Murder House is essential viewing, if not for the astounding performances, specifically from Jessica Lange and Evan Peters. You can catch American Horror Story on Hulu, and especially during the Halloween season, it's always an excellent binge. Number 3. True Detective. There are a lot of crime shows out there, but very few are as memorable or gripping as True Detective. Through its self-contained seasons, the show weaves mysterious tales of violent crime, with a sinister, electrifying tone coursing through each and every episode. This HBO anthology kicked off in 2014 with the first season, which sees 2 detectives, Rust Cole and Marty Hart, investigating a cult-like murder in rural Louisiana. What follows is an intoxicating dive into gritty police work, not glorified in the slightest, and a rapidly descending spiral of depravity. Seriously, season 1 of True Detective is an all-time great, potentially one of the best pieces of television ever made, but it also laid the foundation for an anthology that continues to push the boundaries today. Season 2 switched gears a bit, moving to present-day California to explore corruption, organized crime, and fractured law enforcement, and though it had a convoluted plot, it was still ripe with gorgeous cinematography, solid performances, and some jaw-dropping action sequences. Season 3 returned to a more cerebral, psychological thriller style in a tale spanning 3 decades as Detective Wayne Hayes investigates the disappearance of 2 children in the Ozarks. Under a new showrunner, the show continues to thrive with Season 4 Night County and a 5th season that's currently in production. Currently, you can catch most of the seasons on streaming services like HBO Max or Hulu, but that first season is definitely worth picking up on Blu-ray if you can find it. Number 2. Black Mirror. Dystopian and ultra-bleak, Black Mirror is a show that seemingly becomes more relevant with each passing year, for better or worse. Created by Charlie Brooker and first airing on the British network Channel 4 before it jumped over to Netflix in 2016, this sci-fi anthology found its niche by exploring the potential technologies of the future and showing us just how damaging they can be if not used properly. Quality through and through, you can pretty much pluck out a Black Mirror episode at random and have a 50-50 chance of it being an all-time great, though the best of the bunch are often remarkably tragic, ending with shocking plot twists that will have you reeling. There are so many great episodes, but I especially like the Season 3 episode Playtest, where a man named Cooper beta tests a survival horror game in an augmented reality headset, only to rekindle much deeper fears buried in his psyche. There's also the Season 4 episode Hang the DJ, which is a somewhat lighthearted jaunt into the modern dating scene, or the Season 6 episode Loch Henry, where 2 film students make a documentary about a mysterious serial killer in Scotland. Honestly, almost every episode of Black Mirror is worth at least one viewing, and if you have a Netflix subscription, it's a must-watch. Poignant and unapologetically upsetting where it needs to be to drive the point home, Black Mirror is easily one of the best anthologies of the modern generation, if not all of TV history. Number 1. The Twilight Zone. Before there was Black Mirror, before there was American Horror Story or The Outer Limits, there was The Twilight Zone. This is the anthology series that all other anthology series are measured by. Often imitated but never surpassed, this is the be-all, end-all. Created by Rod Serling, The Twilight Zone first aired in 1959, and using science fiction and fantasy, it presented constantly confounding stories, touching on every sort of supernatural or surreal experience that the human psyche could ever conceive of. In an era where television was pretty squeaky clean, The Twilight Zone pressed the boundaries and asked big questions, all while staying remarkably entertaining. The show has been revived 3 times over the years, once in 1985, again in 2002, and most recently in 2019 with Jordan Peele as the narrator, but none are as timeless as the 1959 original. With over 150 episodes to choose from, there is no shortage of The Twilight Zone for your viewing pleasure. You can start off from the very beginning with the pilot episode, Where Is Everybody?, which is a gripping tale of isolation, or Rod Serling's favorite episode, Episode 8, Time Enough at Last, which follows an avid reader at the end of the world who is finally granted enough time to read all of the books that he wants. There's also the iconic episode on mass hysteria titled The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, or the tale of airborne terror, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, starring William Shatner. No matter what episode you pick, The Twilight Zone will always keep you guessing, and without it, the anthology format would not be what it is today. As fun to watch as it was influential, there is no doubt in our mind that The Twilight Zone is the best anthology show of all time.